Welcome to episode 5 of the Cranky Fan Podcast on the FL Team's YouTube channel. I'm your host, the Cranky Fan, and as usual, unfortunately, this show is sponsored by no one. We'll try again next week. We're recording this tonight on a Sunday night. It's about 11 o'clock at night, about 5 hours removed from the end of the Rays series against Kansas City. No guests this week. I just want to rant a little bit because very frustrating series. And really for the core problems I've been talking about for the last couple episodes with this team. Again, I get it. Look at this roster. Look at the talent that we have right now. The injuries are killing this team. You know, there's 17 guys on the injured list right now, so you're going to have to tread water and do the best you can. I get that. Right now, we really only have 5 guys in the everyday roster that would have been on the opening day roster. We have Yandy Diaz, Randy Rosarena, Brandon Lau, G-Man Choi, and I guess you can consider Josh Lowe the 5th guy, because considering they traded Austin Meadows to open up a spot for him, he was supposed to be our starting right fielder when the season started. So I get that. I get we have a bunch of 4A guys on this roster who are not major league players or not major league ready. They're not major league talent. You can see it at bat. You could see it in the field. It's very aggravating. And I get that. And we just have to deal with it. That's just the way it is this year. Bad breaks, bad luck. So be it. What you can control is how this team is managed and the organizational philosophy of this team again. We talked a lot about this last episode when we had Ulysses Sembrano of Locked On Rays on with me. And this weekend was just a perfect example of the things that frustrate me the most about this team and what concerns me about it. Again, let's reset. What is the job of a manager? Manager doesn't play. Manager doesn't throw, doesn't catch, doesn't hit, doesn't pitch, doesn't do any of those things. A manager's job is to put his team in the best position to win. That's it. So let's remember that as we go through the aggravation pain points of this weekend. And you tell me, was this a manager that put his team in the best position to win? Let's start with last Saturday night's game. The loss. The aggravating part about that is, again, my argument always has been with Kevin Cash is that he overmanages. You know, starter's gone 4 1/3 innings, 73 pitches. He's yanked. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Blake Snell every single episode of this show, but that's the prime example. What he did Saturday night was the exact opposite. Yarborough is, at best, a replacement level pitcher in this league. He had one good year a couple of years ago, but he throws basically meatballs. He's nothing. He was sent down for being ineffective this year. Brought in the 5th inning last night. Pitched a couple innings, was fine. You know, Kansas City didn't score. Rays tie it in the 7th, 4-4. Cash gets greedy. Keeps him in. Gives up 3 runs. They lose. Why is he still in the game? I mean, I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't want to hear the bullpen was burned out. I don't want to hear, well, we have 10 games in 11 days and we have to save guys. I don't want to hear we were, we don't chase victories. None of those things apply. This is a team that was off for 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for the All-Star break. It's a fully rested bullpen. You know, I get it. When they were down, that's one thing. Yarborough is coming in to mop up innings, but guess what? They tied this game. It became a high leverage game. Why is he pitching 65 pitches in a game like this? This is a game to win. When you're in a pennant race, when you're trying to win a wild card, you're trying to be the 1 seed for the wild card. Maybe the Yankees collapse. You don't know in the future. You have to beat last place teams. This is the 5th series this year the Rays have lost to a last place team. That's pathetic. That's not what a playoff team should have on their resume at all. These are games you have to win. You survive against the really good teams. You split against the really good teams. You have to win series against bad teams. And this Royals team stinks. It's not good. So, I mean, that to me is just, it's coaching malpractice leaving Yarbrough in a game like that. We have a fully rested bullpen. And again, he's a manager. He's not pitching. Games are won on the field, but you have to put your team in the best position to win. And having Yarbrough come back when they tie the game up, just ask yourself, is that the best position the Rays were to win that particular game? I don't think so. Then today, rubber game of the series, getaway day. Look at that lineup that was out there today. Again, like I said in the start, we only have, 5 guys on this team that are considered starters, or considered, and 4 of them I only consider major league bats. Diaz, Rosarena, Lau, Choi. We are 2 games removed from a 4-game break, facing a pitcher with an ERA of 5.6. Why is Brandon Lau? Why is G-Man Choi getting a day off? Weren't hurt. Wasn't because of a matchup. Just rested them. Is that putting your team in the best position to win? I don't think so. Again, what you do in April and May when you're trying to conserve innings for your pitchers and conserving, legs and batters is different than when you're in late July and getting into August and September. So the lineup we do have, we decide, let's have a guy hitting 083 and Luke Raley be your number 3 hitter. 083. That means less than 1 out of 10 times he's getting a hit. And that's someone that Kevin Cash thinks should be at the heart of your lineup. Is that putting your team in the best position to win? No. Caught the post-game interview. Why? Well, he wanted to break up the all the righties in the lineup. Well, if that's the case, you have Brandon Lau on the bench. You have G-Man Choi on the bench. Let's try to win a game. Let's try to win a series. Let's try to act like we actually care about this. Again, this goes back to my fundamental problem with Kevin Cash and this organization, that they are too worried about the big picture instead of winning individual games. And these are 2 games that they outcoached themselves and against a lesser, inferior opponent and blew it. And it's just more evidence to me that Kevin Cash is not a good manager. And, I get it. People are going to argue all the time, well, he was 2-time manager of the year. They've won 100 games, blah, blah, blah. But you have to hold him accountable to what he does. What do you do to impact a game? Again, you're only as good as the talent you have. And this team is relatively struggling compared to last year due to trades, free agents they didn't re-sign, injuries, the big part. But again, Kevin Cash didn't forget how to manage a team, how to manage when last year he won 100 games and this year is going to struggle to make a wild card team. And, you have to hold him accountable for what he can control. And what he can control is putting the best possible lineup out there every day. And I get it. Guys needs an occasional day off. Maybe there's a matchup where it's extreme. I mean, if a guy is 2 for 7 lifetime, that is not a matchup. That's random. A guy who's hitting career 130 if they're 100 at bats, all right, I could see maybe that, but this is ridiculous. And again, he just outmanaged his team out of potentially winning a series against a bad team, and we can't keep having that. So I just wanted to get this off my chest today. I know this isn't a really regular scheduled episode, but I'm sure you guys are feeling a lot of the same frustrations I have with this team. And again, a lot of people are just going to point to the injuries and say, well, point to the Yankees having the great record. But this team is not putting himself in the best position to win, in the best position over 162, which is counterintuitive to what they're trying to accomplish. So, they got 4 games this week against Baltimore, another last place team. And, save that pre-All-Star game, narrative about, oh, they're really pretty good. They're a wild card contender possibility. They stink also. And the Rays, if they want to be serious about being in the wild card, these are series you have to win. You have to win 3 out of 4 against a team like Baltimore. I mean, it's going to be dead there. The Thursday game at noon, they'll draw flies. No one will be there. They need to win. They got McClanahan pitching on Monday. Start off with a win. Win in spite of what your manager's doing to you, and go from there. One other thing I do want to talk about, this won't be a long episode. I just, again, getting things off my chest. I want to talk about the Gators for a second. SEC Media Day was last week. We're a couple weeks away from the fall camp. And before you know it, 6 weeks from now will be the first game against Utah. But the media was voting on preseason predictions for the Eastern Division of the SEC. And the Gators were voted to come in fourth. And to me, how much of that is narrative and how much of that is reality? A couple things I just want to throw out there for everybody to think about before you become part of the sheep and just parrot what these guys are saying who really aren't thinking about this. The 24/7 Team Composite Index, which is a composite of all of the talent currently on the roster, whether they were in last year's recruiting class, the year before, transfers, different things. So it compiles who's currently on the roster now. Last year, the Gators were 7th in that ranking. Tennessee was 19th. Kentucky was 31st. Let's go back the last 3 years of 24/7 composite recruiting rankings. In 2022, the Gators were 17th. Not good. I mean, we're not going to talk about Dan Mullen and the failures for that, but I'm just comparing apples to apples. The Gators were 17th. Kentucky was 14th. Tennessee was 18th. In 2021, the Gators were 12th. Kentucky was 35th. Tennessee was 22nd. In 2020, the Gators were 9th. Kentucky was 25th. Tennessee was 11th. What does that tell you? What does that mean? They don't have the talent that we do. Now, I'm not saying that we have talent that Alabama or Georgia does, but we have more talent than Tennessee and Kentucky does. So I don't know where this, again, Tennessee is the annual winners of the offseason award for being great when games aren't played. And I get Kentucky is the flavor of the month, and I'm not really sure why. I guess because Will Levis is getting all this love for being a top 5 pick in the draft. But let's go back and compare what happened last year as we're kind of factoring into this what's going to happen this year thing. Last year, the Gators lost to Kentucky 20-13. It was a terrible game. A game where Kentucky won based on a blocked field goal attempt to be taken back for a touchdown. I wanted to look at some stats from that game for a second. There was a quarterback in that game who was 7 for 17 for 87 total yards. That wasn't Emory. That was Will Levis. So you're telling me that a guy that was, sub Emory level performance against a not good Gator team, against a Todd Grantham defense, all of a sudden is going to become a Heisman contender and a top 5 draft pick against this defense last year? I just don't see it. Tennessee last year, the Gators, the 2021 Florida Gator team that fired its coach, quit on its team the team quit, blew that team out 38-14. You're telling me that this team all of a sudden there's such a difference in talent level and everything that they're going to come to Gainesville? The game's in Knoxville. They're all of a sudden going to turn around and beat this team, like so surely. Not only beat them, but finish with a better record than Florida. Again, don't fall for flavors of the month. I mean, the one team in college football I think has the biggest variance of what they could potentially do is Florida, because we just don't know about Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has the potential to be an all-time great at Florida for 1 year. It could potentially be one of those transcendent quarterbacks that wins a Heisman Trophy just on his talent alone. Not guaranteeing it, but there is that potential. A team that could be carried on his back and beat average teams. We're talking, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee. These are average teams. These are not in the same tier as Tennessee, not in the same tier as Georgia. Just average. You're telling me that, everybody who voted thinks that those two teams are, better than Florida, just with they don't have the potential for that quarterback that we do. I don't see it. I still I just don't believe Kentucky's coming in here and winning. Tennessee, I'm just not buying over the course of a season with the talent level they have. They're a team that has to play Alabama every year. They have to play Georgia every year. They're playing us. They're playing, Kentucky. I just think that there's nothing worse in sports than the preseason college football narratives where all of these writers, they say the same thing. They have no original thoughts in their head, and people just take it as gospel when it just takes you 2 seconds of looking at some statistics and thinking, does this narrative make any sense? And to me, that makes no sense. So, as we get closer to the regular season and, get into training camp, I'll have a lot more analysis of my thoughts about the Gators. But for right now, that just stuck at me as something like this seemed pretty ridiculous, and want to get out there and see what you guys think. So that's basically the show for right now. Just I want to get some things off my chest. This week I'll probably have another show talking about the Rays, trying another guest on. You could catch me as always on Twitter at the Cranky Fan. Check out my other podcast, the Just Giants podcast with the football grump. As we get into training camp for the Giants, be sure to catch all the other shows here on the FL Teams YouTube channel. Lots of good stuff. Big trade happened for the Florida Panthers. I know there's some shows talking about that. And, as the Bucks, the Dolphins, the Jags get ready to start training camp as well. They have lots of good programs there also. So please check out all the shows. And I appreciate you guys listening, and we will talk soon. Bye now.